You're listening to What to Listen To, the podcast that answers the question you didn't even know you were asking. From fascinating deep dives to thought-provoking trends, we've got your ears covered, so sit back, plug in, and let's explore what's worth your time today.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going deep on something I'm sure you've all had at some point.
Yeah.
Kellogg's cornflakes. You think you know this breakfast staple.
Oh, trust me. This story
behind it
is way more bizarre
than you can possibly imagine.
You can imagine. We're going to uncover
way more.
A tale that involves a health crusade against...
We'll just say a little more adult than your average cereal box.
Right. Much more adult.
Yeah.
So to help us dig into this, we have our expert with us.
That's right. And what's so interesting about all this is that we're talking about the late 19th century and attitudes about sexuality, particularly...
Oh, especially back then.
What they called self-abuse or onanism were...
Onanism?
Yeah. Okay, so that's...
It's a term that comes from a biblical story, but in the 19th century, it was a medical term for masturbation. And it was seen as a huge problem. We're talking anxieties about insanity, weakness, moral decay, all stemming from this act.
Wow. So who is the figure behind this crusade against... well, oneself?
That would be Dr. John Harvey Kellogg.
Okay.
Superintendent of the famous Battle Creek Sanitarium.
Oh.
A prominent doctor, health reformer, and absolutely fixated on purity.
In all aspects.
In all aspects of life, yeah.
So how do cornflakes fit into all this? Did he think that a bowl of cereal could, actually curb urges?
That was exactly his belief. He was convinced that diet played a central role in controlling desires.
Interesting.
So he advocated for bland vegetarian food, believing that it would dampen those harmful passions.
Hold on, so no coffee?
Nope.
No spices?
All in the name of keeping things pure.
Just to keep things pure?
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty extreme diet to me.
Yeah, it does sound pretty extreme by today's standards, right? But you have to understand, this was a time when medical and social norms were very, very different.
Oh.
What we might consider normal and healthy was viewed through a completely different lens. Yeah, it's easy to look back and judge these beliefs, but...
yeah, for sure.
You have to remember that Dr. Kellogg was not some fringe figure.
Oh, no, not at all.
He was a respected physician. His ideas were very much...
a man of his time.
Right, in line with the mainstream thinking of the time.
Totally.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how much our understanding of health and the human body has evolved.
For sure.
What was once considered dangerous is now understood in a completely different light.
Absolutely. And it's a good reminder that scientific truth is often a moving target.
So true.
What we accept as fact today might seem just as outlandish to future generations as Dr. Kellogg's ideas do to us now.
Totally. So tell me a little bit more about this Battle Creek Sanitarium.
Okay.
What was it all about? Was it just bland food and self-control?
Picture this. The Battle Creek Sanitarium was like this high-end spa attracting the health-conscious elite of the era.
Wow.
All sorts of treatments.
Oh, well.
From hydrotherapy and massage to light therapy and even electric baths.
Electric baths. Okay. That sounds a little intense.
It was all the rage.
And maybe even a tad dangerous.
But Kellogg advocated for a whole range of lifestyle changes, all aimed at achieving this ideal of physical and moral purity.
Yeah.
And he was particularly obsessed with the digestive system.
Really?
Believing that regular bowel movements were key to good health.
Okay, I sense a but coming here.
Let's just say he had some rather unique methods for ensuring those regular bowel movements.
Okay.
He was a big proponent of enemas.
Oh, wow.
And even invented a machine to administer them more efficiently.
An enema machine. Okay, that's an image I wasn't quite prepared for. So it seems like this purity thing...
it definitely did.
Went way beyond just the food.
Yeah, and remember, this was a time when processed foods were just starting to appear. Yeah. And Kellogg saw them as a threat to both physical and moral well-being.
Right.
Advocating for a more natural whole foods diet.
So, in a way... he was ahead of his time.
Right.
But also maybe took things a little too far.
A little extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little extreme.
Of course, his motivations and his methods might seem a bit out there to us now.
Yeah.
But his focus on preventative health through lifestyle changes was pretty revolutionary for the time.
Okay, so we've got this health guru obsessed with purity.
Right.
running a high-end spa with electric baths and enema machines.
Right.
But how did we get from all of that to a global breakfast phenomenon like cornflakes?
That's where the story takes this ironic twist.
Okay.
Kellogg and his brother, Will Keith Kellogg, were experimenting with creating bland, easily digestible foods for the sanitarium patients.
Right.
And in 1894, they accidentally stumbled upon the recipe for cornflakes. So the cereal, meant to suppress desires, became a global breakfast sensation. Now, that's what I call irony.
It is, but the story doesn't end there.
Okay.
Will Keith Kellogg saw the potential to make the cereal more appealing to the masses.
Okay, yeah.
He wanted to add sugar?
I think I can see where this is going. I'm guessing Dr. John Harvey Kellogg was not a fan of this idea.
Not at all. He was vehemently against it, believing that sugar would undermine the whole anti-masturbation purpose of the cereal.
Oh, wow.
This disagreement led to a major rift between the brothers.
So we're talking about a family feud fueled by sugar and self-control. Talk about a recipe for conflict.
Right.
Yeah.
And this disagreement had a lasting impact.
Wow.
Will Keith Kellogg went on to form the company we know today.
Okay.
Focusing on mass production and taste.
Right.
Dr. John's vision, well, that kind of faded into the background.
Wow. What a story. From a crusade against masturbation to a breakfast staple. Who knew cornflakes has such a wild backstory?
It really highlights how much our ideas about health and food and even morality have evolved over time. And it's a reminder that even the most seemingly mundane things can have surprising and often complex histories.
It's like those fun facts
you
see on the back of cereal boxes. You never know what kind of story might be lurking behind them. It's amazing how something as simple as a bowl of cereal can lead us down such a fascinating rabbit hole of history and cultural shifts. Who knew there were so many layers to those crispy flakes?
Yeah, it's a perfect example of how food is so much more than just sustenance, right? It's intertwined with our history, our values, even our anxieties.
And speaking of anxieties, I can't help but think about how Dr. Kellogg's obsession with purity and controlling desires, while extreme, kind of reflects some of the anxieties we see around food today.
It's true. That's a great observation. Even though we've moved on from the specific beliefs of Kellogg's time, we still grapple with these ideas about good foods and bad foods. Clean eating, indulgent eating.
Yeah, totally.
There's still this underlying sense that what we consume has a powerful impact, not just on our physical health, but also on our morality, our self-worth.
Right. And it's like we're constantly bombarded with messages about what we should and shouldn't eat.
All the time.
What's healthy and what's not.
It's overwhelming.
It really is.
It is.
So how do we navigate this complex landscape of food and health information? What are some things our listeners should keep in mind?
Well, first and foremost, remember that there's no one-size-fits-all approach. What works for one person might not work for another. And what's considered healthy is constantly evolving as science progresses.
Right.
So it's important to be skeptical of any claims that sound too good to be true or that demonize entire food groups.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's really about finding what works best for you.
Absolutely.
Your body, your lifestyle.
Exactly. And enjoying food.
Yes.
Food is meant to be nourishing and pleasurable. Getting caught up in the anxieties and the restrictions can take away from that enjoyment.
Well said. So it sounds like the key takeaway here is be informed, be critical, and don't forget to savor those cornflakes, knowing the wild ride they took to get to your breakfast table.
Exactly. And who knows what other surprising stories might be lurking behind the foods we eat every day.
It's a fascinating world out there just waiting to be explored.
That's right.
And that's what the deep dive is all about. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the unexpected history of cornflakes. We hope you learned something new and maybe had a few laughs along the way.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. What surprised you the most about this story? What other food mysteries would you like us to investigate? Let us know in the comments, and who knows, your question just might spark our next deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those breakfast bowls full of fascinating history.
Until next time, don't just hear the world, listen to it.